Welcome to Cookin' Joe here on what appears to be a very nice morning in Pittsburgh. Ron, you've chosen blue for the second day in a row, and darn it, so have I. Don't we look good?
We look like the twins. We look like brothers.
Can you imagine if we had been?
No, I couldn't. I couldn't imagine. Well, if
You'd be my older brother. You'd
you-
be taking care of me in
if you'd
school.
have grown up in Beaver Falls, it would have been okay, but I certainly wouldn't want to have lived in Buffalo.
You and I would have played wiffle ball together. We would have played Stratomatic baseball. We would have went bowling.
Put flour on the electric football game
Yes, we would have.
to have snow-like conditions.
Did you ever bowl? Did you have does
Eh.
everybody have a period in their life, Horse, where they're into bowling for at least like 2 weeks? I did. Did you, Ron? I even
Yeah,
bought a bowling
when I
ball.
was at
Joe.
the Beaver County Times in a lifetime ago.
Go ahead.
I was in a bowling league there. They started.
I knew it.
They had a bowling league. It was only once a week for like 6 months, and then I never really pursued it after that. It was more of an excuse to drink beer.
Yeah.
you
For
know.
mine, it was myself, my stepson Michael, went out and bought bowling balls, Ron, for like a month, completely into bowling, and then it all went away. I think everybody has a stretch.
Is this
Horse,
what's
I know
gonna-
you did. I know you were a bowler. I
Joe.
could just tell by looking at
Oh,
you.
he still goes
I'm in a
out and
league
bowls.
now.
What?
I'm in a bowling league now. Thursday
in a
nights
bowling
down the
league
road
now.
here at the
Nobles-town?
one here in Green Tree.
That's tremendous.
And
Are
then
you good?
He lies about what
No.
his average is.
What's your average?
I'm lucky to get in the 150s.
He lies. He told me he had like 100 the other day, but his average is like 220.
No, I
Can
didn't
we
say that.
organize a show bowling event or tour or even a day?
You want to go bowling?
Yes.
I will
That would
go
be
bowling
the
with you.
idea. Sure. Okay. Ron, you in?
Are you going to do, okay, so you bought a ball, you were into it, you probably bought shoes too.
I
I'm
did.
guessing.
The ball broke.
And then
Yep.
all of a sudden you gave it up. Is the same thing going to happen in golf? You bought the
Might.
clubs, you took the
Might.
lessons, and now you're going to just toss them aside.
This is what happens when you have an addictive personality. Then you're into
Are you
who knows what.
are
You're
you an
into
addictive
you're into
personality?
card collecting, and then you have to buy every card and study it for a month and then you quit.
Do you have that addictive person?
Yes, I do.
There's one condition.
Okay.
Every time I go to line up to bowl, you can't possibly sing as I'm in like mid form.
I don't know if I'm willing to sign up for that. Ron, let's go on a bowling trip. Me, you, and Horse. Winner gets money. We'll put money on the table. You willing to do that?
Let's not say we did.
Did you have?
He doesn't think he can win.
Doesn't think he
Oh,
can
there's
win.
no doubt.
Huh.
There's no doubt that I think I can't win. Yes.
Did you have the curve
There's-
on your roll?
I probably would be better off with like little kids get on their hands and knees and push it. That's probably the best way for me to.
You know, Horse has the official curve ball.
I saw
right?
the other day was
Do you, Horse?
the
Curveball?
anniversary of Pete Weber's celebration of a big
Yeah, that was great.
strike, and I'm the man. That would be Horse on the lanes.
I think it would be, and I think we should do this. I'm more of an old school straight on field
I
goal
just try
kicker.
to
What'd they
throw
call
straight-
those guys?
Straight
Fred,
on
straight
field goal
on. Was that the
kickers.
name for it?
Yeah.
Fred
As-
Cox, people
as
like
opposed
that.
to a soccer style kick.
Exactly. I throw the ball straight ahead every time and aim just for the right of the kingpin, if you will. Ron, is that the name of the pin at the top?
Head pin.
Head pin.
Head pin.
All right.
Rod's playing us. You know that, right?
Yeah, I know. He plays us at golf too. You don't
he's
get
gonna
as
show
good
up
at
and be like Kingpin.
exactly. You don't get as good at golf as Ron was, and I have various sources. They don't call me the savvy old news hound for nothing, and not be still good. Like it would take Ron 2 trips to the range, and he could go on a course and be really good.
You think like something that happened 50 years ago, that a little bit of time in between wouldn't hurt that, huh?
It's like riding a bike.
Yeah,
Ron.
once you got it, you got it.
Yeah, I'd probably fall riding a bike too.
Ron, there's a bunch of things on the table today, but it feels like a serious note with what's happening in the world and with what's happening with sports as it pertains to that. Our little section of the store here in sports, where you see all kinds of different things happening, between FIFA suspending Russia from competing in international games. You see the NHL come out and condemn Russia's actions, although standing up for Russian players. You see the International Skating Union banning Russia from the upcoming World Figure Skating Championships. hockey events. I don't remember if it was the World Junior that's slated soon to be in Russia. It's like every time you turn around, somebody else is taking some action, however, big or small in the sports world, against Russia. And I know you wrote about this the other day in terms of hockey and Alex Ovechkin and Malkin, and we still haven't heard from Malkin. What will we hear when he talks about it? And I guess from what you told me before the show, that Ovechkin posted your column. Is that right?
That's what I was told by our boss, Lydia Craver at the Post-Gazette. I mean, I wouldn't know how to get to Instagram or know that he did, but she told me that he did. And I'm getting, I guess, a lot of feedback just from some of the names. They sound very Russian to me responding to it. And it's all over the board. Some people want to have him thrown out of the country, deny his work visa over here. Other people say he's just an athlete, not a politician. Let him alone. The reaction has been all over the board. And the same thing applies for Malkin. And then I hear people say, well, it's sports. It's, don't get into politics. Well, Ovechkin got into politics. He's the one in 2017 started that Team Putin campaign on social media. So he jumped into politics there. And now it's fair that he's asked about it. And again, I certainly have a lot of compassion and for his comments, the position he's in, and Malkin, because you're dealing with a very unstable dictator over there that has been known not to treat his dissidents well. And Ovechkin's family's over there. Malkin's parents are still over there. And I wouldn't put anything past that guy, and I understand that they have to walk carefully with what they say. But Ovechkin did jump into the political world, and he's a high-profile athlete, and we all know that high-profile athletes, whether they should or shouldn't, their opinions seem to matter.
Yeah, the separation of sports and politics never existed for those who are still on the stick-to-sports train. And we've especially seen that now in the last 4 to 5 years with the NFL and everything else.
The boycott of the Olympics.
Right. You go back to the beginning of time, practically.
Right.
They've always been intertwined, and you're just living with your head in the sand if you're a stick-to-sports person. Look at the NFL in the past 5 years. What's interesting about that is if, in fact, Ovechkin posted your column, that to me says, take a look at this. There's more to think about here. There's families back in Russia. I'm thinking that he's trying to tell people through your column, I'm under tremendous pressure here with people at risk. And I get that people will come back and say, what about the folks in Russia who are standing up to the government and protesting, in plain sight and going to jail, and who knows what else will happen to these people? Why aren't you among them? I understand that, but that's what I think that Ovechkin would be saying through posting that. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do. And I do think they are under pressure because he is very high profile over there, and people over there are going to see what he said, including the people at the very top, and they may not like it, although his comments were very lukewarm. He didn't rip Putin by any stretch. He just said, no more war, please, what any decent human being would say. He didn't, he was asked if he still supports Putin as strongly, and he said, well, he's my president. These are scary times. Like people, a lot of people over here wanted him to be stronger.
They want more.
They want him to denounce Putin.
Now, it would have been really something if he had come out in full-throated support of Putin. What would the NHL do if he or another Russian player did that? Because we've basically seen people excommunicated here from various forms of life. I saw where the Russian maestro of the Philharmonic or whatever it is in Munich in Germany is a Putin supporter, and they kicked him out. I can't help but wonder what would have happened if Ovechkin was fully in support, or any famous Russian person here or anywhere but Russia, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's why it's such a tough situation. People here wanted him to condemn Putin, and he didn't do it. And I'm sure he had to think about his family back there. And I think about the whole Panarin situation with the Rangers last week. He was anti-Putin, and all of a sudden a story appears over there that he hit some woman 10 years ago and it was so serious, the charge, that he had to take a 2-week leave of absence. And the Rangers sent out a statement saying this is a total BS. It was only done, because he commented about Putin's politics. So you wonder what would happen if somebody would really condemn Putin, and yet if he'd have come out in full force favor of it, I guess you can deny his work visa, whatever. I don't even know if Ovechkin's an American citizen now. He may have dual citizenship here. He's been here so long.
I kind of feel still the same as I felt what I said yesterday, which was if I were in that situation, I would hope that I would do the right thing, which is condemn these actions. But if I were in, there's no way of knowing what I would do in that situation, especially if you told me
your parents are
that
over
my
there.
mother and my daughter were back here, and knowing that when people stand in opposition to Putin, they tend to disappear or be poisoned or have bad things happen to
Or
their
have
families.
their life made miserable.
Or have a story appear, a bogus story that they were in a dispute in a bar 10 years ago that could have ruined Panarin's career. I don't know what I would do. It's hard for me to condemn Ovechkin for what he said and didn't say. It is. It's impossible for me to know what I would do in that situation. I don't know if I had lives at stake in my family.
I'm with you 100% on that, Joe. And I sympathize with the position Malkin is in, and I know he is very uncomfortable because he has been requested, to talk after a game, and the other day would have been the perfect time. He scored the only goal in the win against the Rangers. He chose not to come into the interview room. It's different if you're allowed in the locker room, I guess, although players have been known to hide in areas where we're not allowed when the locker room was open, and I don't know if he would have been available. I'm assuming they're not going to go the rest of the year without him saying something. And again, I'm not going to criticize what he says. If he wants to say, you know what, I'm going to keep my thoughts to myself, I have no problem with that.
It's not a good history for Ovechkin, I'll say that, with Putin. It is not a good history for him.
Oh, he's been an ardent supporter.
Yeah, and this isn't like the first time that Putin has shown who he is. So it's not good for him right now. It's just not. All right, I think we're going to see more of that in the days ahead. We're going to see, depending on what Malkin says and does here, which could come as soon as today or tomorrow.
You said something earlier off there. Do you think this could get bad enough to affect their performance?
Absolutely, the pressure that they're going to be under.
And Ovechkin has tailed off badly, scoring goals. Malkin, though, is playing the best hockey since he's been back, isn't he? I think he's got a point in like 8 or 9 games in a row. A bunch of goals. He's turned their power play around. So far, it isn't affecting him. Who knows what comes ahead? But Ovechkin's numbers are way down as of late.
Cook and Joe, we have Maury Brown coming up at 11 o'clock to talk a little baseball, and we can swing into that next. It sounded like a marathon session, literally a 15-round fight of 15 meetings last night, the day into the night. And now another phony deadline today, although maybe the phony deadlines help a little bit. I'm sure they'd be willing to move that 5 p.m. deadline if they can strike a deal by midnight tonight.
Yeah. Or tomorrow. They say it's so etched in stone to have the season start on March 31st. I don't believe that. Well, I still think they have a little bit of time, but you have to have a deadline for anybody to move, right?
Right.
Why couldn't they have done this stuff in December and January?
Exactly. So let's talk about that coming up, whether we will, in fact, see baseball at the beginning of the season, which would be the end of March, because it's starting to look like we might. There was significant movement, I would say. It's Cook and Joe